Alderwoman Bainey?
Here.
Alderman Glad?
Here.
Alderman Doherty?
Here. Here.
Alderwoman Bassey?
Here.
Alderman Davis?
Here.
Alderman Cook?
Here.
And Alderwoman Miller is absent.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Is there anyone here for public comment? And that's items that are not on the agenda this evening. See none? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda items 5A through 5I. I am looking to see if any council members want to pull any items for separate consideration if they plan on voting no on an item. See none? Looking for a motion to approve 5A through 5I. Alderman Cook?
I'd like to pull 5A.
Is it to make a comment? Oh,
Yes, I want to
I
make...
was going to say, I just asked that. Okay. Wait, he's on a different level today. Okay.
I appreciate...
Making a motion?
Make a motion.
All right, he's made a motion to approve 5A through 5I. Second? Alderman Doherty?
Yeah, I'll make the second of the motion.
Thank you. Discussion on any of these items? Alderman Bassey?
I just want to say congratulations, and we're very happy that you have officially accepted the position.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Any other comments, questions? See none? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cook? Alderman Cook?
Yes.
Alderman Doherty?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bainey?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bassey?
Yes.
Alderman Davis?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. I just also want to say to Russ Adams, he's been assisting as Public Works Director for a little over 6 months and has done an outstanding job. And it's an honor to appoint him in this position. He's done a great job, and I look forward to seeing what you're going to bring to the Public Works Department. So thank you very much for what you've done.
Thank you.
Alderman Glenn.
I just wanted to bring up the same as what you said, and more than anything else, it just shows his unending spirit to keep moving forward, and the fact that he's definitely earned this position and shown that he can handle it, and I'm glad to see him on board.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. All right, moving on to the individual action items. 6A. I'm looking for a motion to pass an ordinance granting a use variation and zoning variations for the property located at 1511 North Green Street. Alderman Doherty?
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning variation for 1511 North Green Street as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Davis?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item by City Council? Alderman Glenn?
Yeah, and again, it isn't just pertaining to 1511 North Green Street, but when we look at these uses that are out there as far as non-conforming, and we've been researching them, I have no problems if they were grandfathered in from years and years ago. But if people actually kind of did it on a sly after our zoning was in place, I kind of, once they're caught, kind of a little reluctant to just say, oh, it's okay now, and give them a variance when they did something on the sly in the first place. So as long as we're doing the research on them, I'm more than happy.
Yeah, they have to prove that it was lawfully existed prior to our 1986 ordinance currently. And with all of these, this area of town is so old, and this is generally where all of these properties are that we're having to address the issues. I mean, this one, for instance, the coach house and I don't know.
I've lived in that neighborhood my entire life.
Right. So, we do go back and look at the tax records, the water billing, and everything to make certain that it was at least 1986.
Any other questions, comments by council? Any public comment regarding this item? See none? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Doherty?
Yes.
Alderman Davis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bainey?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bassey?
Yes.
Alderman Cook?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Next item on the agenda is 6B. I'm looking for a motion to approve a special use of Miller Point Park by the City of McHenry to allow for bands, food trucks, and consumption of alcohol throughout the grounds of Miller Point Park in conjunction with the community concerts on June 21st and August 23rd from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Alderwoman Bainey?
I will make that motion as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Doherty?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion on this item by City Council? Alderman Glab.
All I want to say is again, with the alcohol along the park, although this is going to be just a 4-hour stint, so I would hope that people weren't going to get totally blitzed walking along the waterways.
Alderwoman Bassey?
This is actually for you. And I ask this every single time, so you probably know the question. How are you going to monitor that the alcohol consumption stays in the park and does not leave?
On that particular evening, All Marine Retro Rentals, the container bar that's on site, they'll have staff that's on each end to monitor that people don't leave the park with those. We'll also have, for these two concerts, particularly, we'll have some staff there as well that are monitoring the grounds, Parks and Rec staff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Cook?
Have they resolved the noise problem from the generators and everything? I mean, you had it on the last time, so.
Which noise problem was that? From the email that we received?
Yeah.
Those generators were on for approximately 15 minutes while the food truck pulled up and to get that and plug into the power that we have on site. So I believe that's more than resolved.
Okay. I thought maybe it had something to do with this dinner that was going on and all that. You'll have generators out there?
Nope. For these events, what we do is close that whole parking lot off. We'll line up the food trucks along that back where when we designed the park, we put in the electric stations specifically for them to be able to hook up to so that we're not dealing with generator noise.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Alderman Doherty?
I would urge all the council members to go and attend one of these events. We were down at the park yesterday on the afternoon. It was a family event. Yes, there was liquor being served and people were walking around, and I can appreciate Alderman Glab's concern. However, it truly was a family event. It was a wonderful day. The music was great. It was not loud. Actually, you couldn't hear it back by the music or by the liquor area because of the sound system that they were using. But again, I would urge everybody to go and attend these events and support our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bainey?
Thank you, Alderman Doherty. I agree. I think that it seems often that maybe everyone on council is not experiencing what's actually happening at Veterans Point or Veterans Park or at Miller Point, and I really would encourage everybody to come out and see what an incredible asset these events are to our community. I live on a river, right there down by the Riverwalk, and I have never in 5 years ever seen anybody really violating any ordinances by alcohol or anything walking along the Riverwalk or at the park. And I really encourage everybody to come out and actually see what a great time and what a wonderful thing we're offering.
Great. Any other questions, comments? Any public comment regarding this item? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Bainey?
Yes.
Alderman Doherty?
Yes.
Alderman Glab?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bassey?
Yes.
Alderman Cook?
Yes.
Alderman Davis?
Yes. Thank you, Council. Next item on the agenda is discussion regarding Kern and Dartmoor intersection improvements. I'll go ahead and open it up for discussion by City Council. Russ, did you want to start us off? And go ahead.
Yeah, please. So this is the follow-up to the discussion we had 2 or 3 months ago, where we presented H.R. Green's signal warrant analysis and the traffic study that they did out there. And to summarize that, currently the warrants for the installation of a traffic signal at this intersection are not met, even with crash criteria figured in. So just to recap, I don't want to beat that horse again, but the direction that we received from staff was to pull together some from council, was to pull together some cost estimates for reconfiguring the intersection, conversion to a four-way stop, overhead beacon, whether that's a pedestrian warning beacon or a flashing red for a stop,
and present those to council for further discussion. So that's how we got to where we are today. In terms of the new information that's not presented in H.R. Green's study, we have basically 3 items to consider. There's the installation of the overhead pedestrian warning signal. That's approximately $150,000. And again, that's for a pedestrian, the color of the light, if we wanted to make it a 4-way stop and make it a flashing red, whatever. The other options were to improve the geometry of the lanes for the intersection, and that is approximately $8,000 to restripe and eliminate the right turn lanes on Curran Road. That is one of the issues that was identified in the H.R. Green traffic study, is that those right turn lanes are not warranted based on the traffic volume and the usage of that road. And then the other option with that is if we wanted to do a physical elimination of the pavement for those lanes, it's approximately $300,000. And again, those are engineers' opinions of probable costs. We've not done any engineering to figure out actual real-world, costs associated with that, if there's other considerations out there that we're not aware of. And I'll turn it over to council. Thank you, Russ. All right, so we'll go ahead and start it off. There is some public here from Legend Lakes and Boone Creek here, but we'll go ahead and start it off with council discussion first. Alderwoman Bassey.
Thank you. This is actually for both Tom and Russ. This is in my ward, and would it be worth it to put a speed radar on both north and south sides of Curran, get that information to see if in fact it is worth it to put a stoplight? And also, in addition to that, would it be possible the speed limit right now is 40. Could we go down to 30 for just that small area, going north and south?
So let me address your first point as far as installing the radar signs out there. I don't have that data included in here. We have had the signs installed out there previously. I want to say the average speed was about 42 miles an hour that was clocked on those signs. I mean, that's not to say everyone knows you've got a few people who are real, egregious and are above, but the vast majority of traffic out there is abiding by the speed limit. Again, could we do it again? If that's what you're directing me to do, we can put signs out there and absolutely do it again. I don't think you're going to see a change from the last time that we've had the signs installed out there. As for your second question about reducing the speed limit, I believe the lowest that we can go is 35 miles an hour, which is only 5 miles an hour less than the current posted speed limit out there. Because the type of roadway that is designated, we can't go down to 30 miles an hour. Go ahead.
Could I get a copy of that report, please, so that I can look at the speed radar report? And was it north or south side? Or was it both?
I believe we've had it installed on both legs of the it was not simultaneous.
Okay.
But we've had it installed, I believe, both north and south of the intersection. But I will have to see if that data is still available, the raw data, or if it's just kind of a summary that exists somewhere.
Okay, no rush on that. And then, now that you've been promoted, in your professional opinion, of the different choices that we've got, which one do you think is the best for this situation? I told you I was going to ask this.
Yeah. That's really for, I think, for council to determine based on, how much money you want to throw at a problem that I think, may or may not be as prevalent as it sometimes appears. We've done the traffic counts, we've reviewed the accidents, we've looked at how many could have realistically been prevented by the installation of a traffic signal, and the reality is that it's very few. And that's why, even with the accident criteria figured in, it does not meet warrants for a traffic signal at that intersection. We've made some
minor improvements out there with increasing the lighting, flashing stop signs, and some additional warning signage. Knock on wood, we've had no accidents that I'm aware of since those improvements have been made. So do we allow that to continue to play out? That's one option. Obviously, I would advocate for a minimalist approach, I think, at this point. And if we're going to start making changes out there, once we rip pavement out, it's really expensive to put it back. So I think, possibly striping away those right turn lanes would be, a more pragmatic approach to see if that has any impact.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think to some extent, needless to say, everybody always thinks about money when they're talking about a traffic light and everything else. We don't meet warrants at this time, but down the road we will. There's no doubt in my mind. And we would be right now if it hadn't been for the fact that the Western Bypass died. I'm hoping that someday we will see that connection, at least from 31 south of the corporate center, going all the way up to Curran and up to 120. That was what was planned for years. So this intersection was designed for heavier traffic. I think by now we would have probably, I would have thought that we've seen the traffic lights in there now. Now the thing is I think of years back, I used to take 120 out to Zion and used to go past Route 12 and you'd hit a four-way stop at Fairmont. Or, I'm sorry, Fairfield, I think is the name of the street. And it was like that for a couple of years, and yes, it did slow up traffic a little bit. It didn't jam it up, but it did slow it up, and this is on a major highway. And eventually they did beat warrants or whatever, they did put in a traffic light, and traffic flows fairly significant over there. As far as I know, I don't take that route anymore, but I think to some extent we need to look at short-term and long-term together and how it would work. And I think the stop signs might be a better scenario to take and look at right now than what you talked about as far as the striping. The striping's fine, but you also brought up a good point, and that's the fact that even with the striping, people are still going to use it and, shortcut it over there. As far as reducing the speeds, irregardless of what we propose for speed, and I'll use 31 as an example right now. 5 days a week I go down to Crystal Lake in the mornings. I get in the left lane, and I'm 5 miles over in most cases because of the fact that the traffic, the speeds that they're flowing, and everybody goes whizzing by me at least 10 miles an hour more than I am, and that's the way people drive nowadays. I mean, so addressing the speed limit to some extent, I don't think is going to solve the problem. And I think to some extent, I think we really should be looking deeply at a four-way stop and go from there. It's my opinion. And like I say, I think one of the things that we're not looking at is how much impact to Curran is going to happen with the 31, when 31 gets widened and gets torn up. I shudder to think, my ward, with Crystal Lake Road going through, over there, how jammed that's gonna wind up, and people are gonna go further west even to use Curran, and I think you're gonna see a lot more traffic on Curran. And that may be enough to signal getting the warrants that we need to get the traffic signal up. But I think that's how I think we need to see if we shouldn't be progressing that way, rather than, again, you reduce the speed or whatever, but I think the stop signs, I think, to me, is the most sensible way to go. So that's what I'd be in favor of.
Alderman Benny.
Looking at the options that we have, it seems to me that a light makes absolutely no sense right now. We don't meet the warrants. In the future we may, and then I think it's a conversation to have in the future when we do, which maybe is in 5 years, maybe it's in 10. But right now, we've got a lot of other expensive bills to pay, and putting up a light where one doesn't actually warrant being placed doesn't seem like a very financially responsible idea. I also think that putting up a four-way stop in that particular location where the flow of traffic is pretty vital, especially with 31, possibly moving more traffic west, would be a nightmare. I mean, I used to live there, traveled that road a lot. I think a four-way stop would be pretty awful, and I don't think residents would be very happy with it. One question I had is, I remember when this conversation was brought up previously, and we talked about restriping and eliminating turn lanes, and there was some talk about putting some types of barriers there, so even though the concrete or the asphalt wasn't removed, that there was some kind of barricade so people weren't able to just utilize those lanes.
Yeah,
Is that something?
Delineators.
Yeah, is that something that could be done?
That's certainly an option, and it, in the grand scheme of things, it's a fairly minimal cost to install those, along the turn lanes, and then would be the west side of Dartmoor. So again, if that's something, and that's something where we could do the striping initially and see how prevalent the issue is with people still utilizing these. If we need to go back out and install delineators in 6 months because this is still a problem, we spend that money then, and it doesn't change this sort of incremental approach to, taking a minimalist look at it and stepping into this little bit at a time, not just redoing everything all at once.
That would be the solution that would make the most sense to me, especially financially. Look at some other options for stopping people from using the lane.
Okay. Alderman Cook, go ahead.
I drive by there every day. It looks so, I wouldn't do anything to it. People have gotten used to it. Yes, there might be an accident once in a while. As tragic as it is, somebody's at fault, not looking. I mean, it's clear, it's wide open. Even with striping and all that, somebody's going to cheat. Leave it as is. Everybody's used to it. And there's going to be mistakes. I've seen intersections that haven't had an accident in 18 years. Then all of a sudden it has an accident, and all of a sudden, here's flashing lights and everything else like that. I don't know how many more flashing lights you can put on Kern Road in Dartmoor. I mean, when that siren goes off for the fire department and all that, the lights all come on and stuff like that. There's no blind spots on it. It's all open. And just to take away something that we might need 20 years from now because of the development that's going on, just leave it as is. I think people enough have gotten used to the intersection, and I think it's perfectly fine. So you have a right turn, left turn, it's for the future, but I believe everybody's used to it, that intersection, just leave it alone. That's my opinion.
Alderman Davis?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the camp that I think last time we talked, and Chief Burke had mentioned that reducing the speed limit isn't going to make much difference. It wasn't worth going through that. I don't think spending $500,000 on a stoplight is worth it at this point. So I'm kind of on the camp as everybody else. I know, I think the one point about no blind spots was it's when someone is in the lane and trying to turn out is where the blind spot comes from when there's cars there. So to take that away, if we did stripe and see how that works, but if we need to put in the delineators, I assume they're going to be the same as what's on Veterans Parkway. They're not going to stop anything, but it's enough to mess up your car, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to notice it. I mean,
It'll wake you up.
yeah. So that would be my suggestion. Just let's see how things go and not invest a ton of money at this point for something that we hope may work.
Yeah.
So.
Alderman Glab, go ahead.
We keep discussing the traffic for the cars, but I think, and I'm sure some of the residents that have come here, I think, are more worried about the crossing of pedestrians and the kids than anything else. And I think that's one of the things that we really need to look at is as far as how do we make it safer for crossing for pedestrians to get across Curran Road? And I think that's more of the discussion that we should be heading instead of it doesn't matter how many different lines and whatnot that you put in for the traffic. People get goofy once in a while when they drive, or they get a little lapse, and that's what creates the accidents more so than anything else. And maybe putting in a line too over here, or cutting off a turn lane is going to change something once in a while. But I think to some extent it's more of residents need to be more cautious as they're driving through in that area. But I think crossing as far as pedestrians, I think should be more of a discussion and concern than anything else right now.
Real quick, does that crossing have the flashing lights on it so that you hit the button and everybody's aware? I mean, it's pretty bright.
Just
Okay, so it already has it?
It's just a wide street, so when
Are
you start
people
going over
using
four
it?
lanes, yeah, but when you go over 4 lanes, someone walking across 4 lanes is the problem. And then
Right.
there's also blind spots. When a car's turning right, they think they're good to go, and there's a car behind them, then putting on the gas because they're waiting for that person to get into the right lane.
Right.
That's the issue.
So the only piece that we don't have would be that right turn lane, not utilizing that is really the piece that we haven't implemented already, right? Because we have all the other lights except an overhead, but even 150K seems excessive for that, to me.
For a blinking light.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How many people you see go through yellow lights? A lot, exactly. And how many people are going to go through those flashing lights, not knowing that they should be stopping for pedestrians? And I've always been against these things because I feel it just gives a false feel of, and hope of safety that isn't really always there, and that concerns me. So I don't think that's the remedy. I really don't, for pedestrian crossing. I think, okay, it's something that we did, that we're doing something, but I don't think that necessarily is the total answer of what we need to do.
Go ahead.
Just a suggestion. Is there a way we can put in this is going to sound really weird, but can we put in a 4-way, like a temporary 4-way stop, just to see how it affects the traffic, if it is something that, just really disrupts the traffic in that area? Because obviously if they're stopping, there's going to be, that helps with the people walking across and stuff like that. But I'd hate to spend all the money and have it, just cause other problems. The cost is, you're talking $12,000 to $8,000. Is it, if there was a 4-way stop, that blind spot turning left doesn't become an issue, right? Because it's a 4-way stop, so you eliminate that too.
You gotta remember, 80% of the accidents were rear-ending coming.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, coming west from Boone Creek to Legend Lakes. So, 80% of the accidents, people just don't know how to stop without hitting a car in front of them. That's really the
a whole
problem.
different issue.
So if you had more stop signs, I think that might increase accidents.
more.
So that's the only concern. Plus, switching it from no 4-way stop to a 4-way stop, then back if it. Right. Deputy Chief. Your time to shine.
Yeah, it's great. I was just talking to Russ, that intersection, the north-south, Curran, you're talking Curran Road, is so wide, it'd be difficult to put a 4-way stop there.
Alderman Doherty, got any input on this?
I'm leaning to the last proposal, which you've already done, just kind of leave it as is. I could go behind striping to eliminate the lanes. I've driven out there. I listened to your presentation several months ago. The discussion seems to be about the same as it was then. I have a hard time spending the $500,000 at this point in time for a light, although again, it may be warranted 5-10 years down the road. But yeah, given the nature of the traffic accidents, I'm not sure, the other two won't solve it at this point. So, thank you.
Alderman Bassey.
about a year and a half ago, I was walking that area, and what I discovered is that, and I had a big red coat on, and I've mentioned this before, that some of the trees are blocking the vision, and I've gotten emails on that. So can we make sure that all the trees are completely manicured? I mean, okay, again, I had this big red coat on. You could not miss me. I hit the button to cross, and I was almost hit. So something needs to be done, but I think keeping the trees well trimmed might be some help.
Yeah, we worked with the homeowners, Ross, right? We worked with the homeowners on that corner, on the southeast corner. So they're aware. They were letting us go on their property and trim back the trees, which has been groomed since. So that's, in my opinion, not an issue now.
And again, this was a year ago.
Right.
Over a year ago, so
Right.
I'm glad, as long as it's maintained.
Yep, absolutely. What direction are you leaning towards on this?
Well, I think I'm kind of with the rest. Either leave it as is or potentially the striping, but I really would like to see the radar signs up simultaneously. Hopefully in the fall when school goes back or sometime in the summer. I would just like to see the numbers. And I know that there's no cost associated with that.
Okay. I'm going to open up for public comment. I'm sure a couple of you here would like to say something. So you can go ahead. You can hit the center button on this and state your name and address for public record, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy West. I live at 515 Wedgewood Trail in Boone Creek. I agree with that I know something needs to be done. I do disagree, Mr. Cook, that there's no blind spot. There absolutely is. As a matter of fact, when my daughter had her accident, she was going west and Dartmoor to turn left onto Curran, and there was a car and then a minivan coming, and the minivan was shadowing. And you can't see until that car that's turning into Boone Creek is completely gone. So there is absolutely a blind spot there. Now, do we want a four-way stop? I don't know. I work from home, but I drive my daughter to and from school at Parkland every day. My husband works out of town, drives down Curran every day. The problem with the pedestrians, people not stopping, people don't stop. People, the kids don't hit the button. How would you fix that? You can't. I mean, if somebody's not going to do what they're supposed to do, other than citing them, what else are you going to do? A light, I think that a light would help. Again, the cost though, but you'd still have to stripe. You would still have to get rid of that turn lane. The light is not going to work. It's not going to do anything if that turn lane is still there.
I still think going westbound, turning right onto Curran Road could still be a blind spot if you keep the turning lanes with a light, with a right on red.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It'd be the same situation except
a light would not fix it unless you took out those turn lanes. Either way, so I would like to see, as a homeowner in Boone Creek who has a teenage daughter that's driving, two of us drive, and then I have another one coming up to drive in a few years, I would like to at least see something done, even if it's striping and not pulling out that pavement. Those, I can't remember what you call them, the barriers.
Delineators?
Yes. Those are ugly, but I know that they'll get the job done, but if we stripe, they get cited if they still use it, and then if we have to put them up, we put them up. But something needs to be done.
Great. Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks.
Other public comment? Go for it. Once again, if you could hit the center button, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm James Borland. I live at 511 Steeplechase in Boone Creek. I just had a couple of questions. Would rumble strips help any to reduce the speed?
We would probably see a whole bunch of noise complaints if we put rumble strips out there.
I live far away from the corner, so. There was another issue over here with pushing the button. Could we change those from yellow flashing to red flashing? No? Okay.
No, unfortunately, for a pedestrian crossing, it has to be yellow.
Okay. Okay. So I guess my only thing is I think a traffic light is too expensive. Removing the right turn lanes would be probably the best solution.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Any other public comment? All right. I'll give my input. I did put stuff on social media trying to get some input from residents in Legend Lakes and Boone Creek. A lot of them are saying light. Some of those individuals did not watch the meeting previously, so I think everyone's just easy to say, let's just put a light up and do it. But when it comes down to $500,000, it's maybe a step that we might have to do down the road. But I would recommend that we restripe the intersection as a minimum, and we wait on the delineators because they are ugly and half of them will be broke in about a month or less. And then at that point, what we could even do is do a mailer out to the families that are most of the people that are pedestrians that are walking are from Boone Creek and Legend Lakes. So I think if we do some type of campaign to make sure that they are letting their kids know to hit the button. I think a lot of kids just don't know, and some of them are just, they want to see if they can get across there without hitting the button. I don't know. But I think if we do some type of campaign in those two neighborhoods and really push for them to know how to use that device, but I think getting rid of the turning lanes is a must, and see how it goes from there. We can, put officers in that area, track, see how things are going. The speed thing, I really don't think the speed is the issue of any of these accidents, really that we've had there. Like I said, a lot of them is rear-ending, not even on Curran Road. That's actually the side streets. So, but that's my recommendation, to be honest, to move at least with the restriping of the intersection. No delineators at this time. Then I am definitely not for a four-way stop sign. That road is made to move traffic. It will go from a grade A to a C by the engineering report. So I think I think that's the right move right now. I'm not saying, Tracy, I'll get you. But I think that's my recommendation to move forward with something like the restriping. Tracy, you want to come on up real quick?
So you mentioned, possible campaign or mailer about pressing that button. I think it was the last meeting, or somewhere I read or talked to you about using the water bills to put information. Maybe you can do that for all drivers. For the drivers who don't stop at those lights, a reminder, because those go out to the entire city. Most people who are not, on their own sewer.
So that's something we could talk internally and come up with some type of campaign. We can use the water bills. Carolyn would be. What's that?
City newsletter.
City newsletter. All this type of stuff. We can come up with some nixles. So we can come up with some type of campaign. So thank you. Alderman Bassi.
I agree with everything, and I'm very comfortable with everything. You said Boone Creek and Legend Lakes. Could you also add Fox Ridge to that?
No, I agree. Yeah, any of that area.
Yeah.
I mean, heavily, really, it is a whole city thing. I mean, my kids go all the way to Riverwood. I mean, they go all over the place. So, but I think we really focus hard on those three.
Because when I walk in that area, I will see some of my neighbors who are either walking or bicycling.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to include Fox Ridge.
Yeah, so we'll meet with staff and come up with some ideas of campaigning, and the water bill is another thing that Carolyn and I talked about a month ago or two ago, so we can put some stuff on the water bill. Not that everyone reads it, but it's worth trying, baby steps for sure. So that's my recommendation. I don't know if I can get enough council members to support that, because everyone was kind of a little bit all over the place. Some light, four-way, whatever the case may be. So, Alderman Glad.
Yeah. It's always good to look at history before you move forward. And I'm not saying that you just do what history, dictates, but this isn't a unique situation to the city of McHenry. I'm sure there's been a lot of different, this type of situation in a lot of different communities. Probably a lot of western and northwestern suburbs over the years, and I think if we did a little bit more research on how some of these other communities handle this and what worked and what didn't, might help us as far as doing some research on it that way. So, again, I'd like to see whatever we do definitely be, positive, proactive, but, sometimes maybe looking at the situation of, that it's happened in other areas, what works and what doesn't.
Russ, can you kind of give us some feedback on that? I think the engineer that we use also handles dozens and dozens of municipalities, which is who we're kind of listening to on the report.
Yes, and I think also, you brought up the Western Bypass earlier, and I think the problem that exists out there exists because this intersection 20 years ago, when the western part of it was constructed with the intention that the Western Bypass was going to go through, traffic volume was going to increase significantly, we would meet warrants for a signal, and all of these things were going to happen in the next few years. And as we know, 2007 changed a lot of that. The development didn't happen. The Western Bypass did not go through. And I think what we need to do is address the conditions that exist today, because we don't know if or when they're going to change enough to warrant a signal, right turn lanes, anything else. I think sometimes planning too far ahead can be more damaging than just reacting to the situations that exist, especially when we're having accidents. There are issues out there that could potentially be remedied. So I guess to your point about what have other municipalities done, I think the prudent thing is to just evaluate what do we have out there? What do we need? And make the intersection conform to its needs right now as closely as we possibly can in the most responsible way.
Ross, go ahead.
If I could just add, we had Lennar do that conceptual presentation to the city. In our meetings that we've had recently with them, we have disclosed to them this issue at this intersection, and so when and if a traffic study is done for that development, we're going to include this intersection and have it looked at. So that, that could be, I don't have any timing for you with Lennar moving forward. That could be tomorrow, it could be never, but I'm just keeping you in mind that if anything develops out there and that preserves the Boone Creek 7, we will be looking at this intersection again.
And Russ, in that report from the engineer, didn't they include homes that were possibly going to be built where Lennar is looking at now? Didn't they include?
They did a projection based on kind of the proposed development out there. They also used some CMAP data, and essentially, even by 2050, right, we don't have enough local traffic volume to meet the warrant for the signal. So the only thing that would push it based on all the current available projections would be if the Western Bypass ever did come to fruition.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure the public and council knew that. Alderman Bainey.
Just to help you build consensus, I am in favor of just restriping for the timing.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Glenn.
Yeah, what's the difference between the criteria that you need out there versus Dartmoor and Crystal Lake Road?
Dartmoor and Crystal Lake Road was able to meet warrants, I believe, because of the proximity to the school.
Absolutely. I understand. We didn't make it when they did during the summer and all that, but still there is a lot more development going on that will increase traffic there that would not increase traffic on Crystal Lake Road. And again, I don't want to give up on the Western Bypass that goes just up to 120. Politics killed it as far as going all the way up to Ringwood like it was supposed to. And then, again, anything going north of 120. But I think, to some extent, over a period of time, the Pacini property off of 31 was supposed to be part of it. We still have right-of-way, I believe, on the south end of Patriot Estates and all that to connect. And then it was planned to go across Crystal Lake Road over there and then out to Curran. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be necessary down the road, whether 2050 or whenever, but I think to some extent, whatever we decide to do here, we don't want to just do a little patch job. We want to definitely be proactive as far as getting ready for the future, because it's coming. It is. I mean, you know, it doesn't happen over a period of 2 or 3 years, but I think you won't recognize this town by 2050. That I can guarantee you.
Thank you. Alderman Doherty, you're good for striping? Yes. Okay. Alderman Cook?
Want to say one thing. Anytime you have cross traffic, and you got two ends that you got to cross over it, you're supposed to be on your toes and you're supposed to look up and down every which way. When somebody's sitting there and you want to turn right, it's your obligation to make sure that that crossway is open. You just don't go zing it out there because it's a right turn and you're doing a California stop. I'm just saying, as far as I'm concerned, don't do nothing. You know, everybody's used to it and all that. As tragic as it is that people, you know, get in an accident, you're always going to have that accident when you're when you're crossing or turning onto open lanes like that. As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather do nothing.
Thanks. Yeah, I got the support to go ahead and do striping, but Alderman Davis, you good with the striping?
I'm fine with the striping.
Alderman Bassey, you good?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move forward with striping for now. We can always discuss the delineators later, but let's move forward with that. And staff, Russ, do you have any idea of time frame getting something like that done?
We did just approve the pavement marking contract a couple meetings ago, so my preference would be to try to reach out to that contractor. They've not started yet, and see if we can do a change order and add this to that contract. So once I have an answer from them, if I have to go find a different contractor, I'll update you.
Okay, thank you. I did have our attorney hand a sheet out. Did all of you see that, how the striping? So, okay. So you did ask me about 3 lanes. There'll be 2 coming out of Legend Lakes. Okay, perfect. All right, we're good with that? Mm-hmm. All right, any other staff reports this evening? Go ahead.
I just want to say, again, congratulations to Director Russ Adams, Director of Public Works. As Mayor said, Russ has been doing a job for about 6 months now. He was a career wastewater employee, but obviously, having seen how he handled that discussion just now, he has learned a lot in the last 6 months and has really impressed everyone, not only on council, but staff as well. And so, congratulations, Russ. Actually, we're happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the council for not pulling it from the agenda.
Not pulling it from the agenda.
The other thing I wanted to mention, I did send an email late last week to the City Council requesting feedback on a couple of items. The first of which is whether you all would be available to come at 6 p.m. For the next meeting on June 16th. This meeting is fairly short, but we will make up for it on June 16th. We will have the presentation of the Parks Master Plan, as well as the conversation about downtown development with the City Council that will be moderated by HDR with our comp plan consultant. So staff's hope was to start that meeting at 6 p.m. with the Committee of the Whole, specifically for the Parks Master Plan, to knock that one out before the 7 p.m. meeting begins, because that development conversation will be a discussion item that evening. So if you have not responded to me, either give me a thumbs up now or send me an email. Either way, I would appreciate it. Okay? Yes?
Is that all that's going to be on the agenda? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is that all that's going to be on the agenda?
Yeah, I don't know the full extent of the agenda. We've been trying to keep it a little bit lighter.
Okay.
But then, of course, I have the follow-on question for you, which is the July 7th meeting. Typically, in the past, that meeting has been canceled. I know we canceled it last year just because it is adjacent to the 4th of July holiday. It's the Monday following that holiday weekend. And so wanted to float that idea out to the City Council and get your feedback on whether or not you feel comfortable canceling that meeting.
I would like to cancel that meeting. I'm just giving my 2 cents. I get back on the 7th, so I'd rather not come here after that. But so is there anyone in favor of that?
I seem to have seen enough thumbs ups.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other staff reports? None? All right. I have nothing this evening besides for Russ Adams, congratulations again. And also want to, summer's coming up. A lot of parks. Maintenance guys have been working on parks and vandalism throughout the city. I would ask that you talk to your kids and make sure they're not vandalizing our parks. Even New Park that we just had at Veterans Parkway, thousands of dollars in damages. We would ask that you talk to your kids and keep your ears open for any vandalism of our parks. Obviously, it's a costly thing to replace, so I would ask that all the residents please do their part and keep your kids at bay of vandalizing our parks. So, also, thank you to all of our directors and our staff for working your tail off every day. We don't say it often enough, but we have a great staff here, so thank you all very much for what you do and how hard you work. So, thank you all. Other than that, I have nothing else. City Council comments? See none? Looking for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Davis?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Cook?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman Cook.
Yes.
Alderwoman Massey.
Yes.
Alderman Doherty.
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Alderwoman Beatty.
Yes.
Thank you, Council.